Hello students, a very good morning to all of you. Now students, as you know that we have started our English composition part. So in that composition part we have seen the paragraph writing, story writing. Now today we are going to learn about the reproduction of a story from poem. How you will write a story from poem. Sometime the stanza of poem you will give, and with the help of given stanza you should have write a proper story, or this is important for writing a summary of poem. Sometime there is you have to write a summary of given poem. Okay, so for that also you have to make sure that these points you will come to know. Okay, now let me start. There are some hints for writing the summary from poem in a story form, okay, or reproduction of a story from given poem. Some hints are there. First is, read the whole poem through slowly and carefully. Whatever the poem had given to you, you should have read it very carefully. If at the time of first reading you will not understand what is given exactly, then you should have read it twice. If again in the second time also you will not understood, then read it thrice. Make sure that you have to understood whatever the poem it is. So till the understanding of poem you should have read the poem very carefully. Then and then only you can write the story or the summary of poem. Okay, so read the given poem very slowly and carefully. Second is, write important points. So after reading the poem, after reading first time, twice or thrice, after reading the poem, you have to write some important point from the given poem. You have to make sure that you can write all the important points from the given poem, and with the help of important points, that important points you can write roughly also. Okay, so after writing that important points, with the help of that important points, again check that all the important points are comes or not. Don't miss any important point. Don't miss any point. You have to check all the points are comes or not. Then next is, now with the help of that point, write a story or write a summary. Now with the help of that important points, whichever you have roughly write, that points you can make a story. With the help of that rough points, start making a story. And while making a story, make sure that your composition is correct, structure of sentence is correct, sequence of structure is correct. Check it. Means now with the help of that points you should have write a proper story in a proper sequence, in a proper grammatically correct sentence. You should have checked that whatever the sentence structure you are using, that must be correct and that must be in a proper sequence. So for that you have to make sure that points you have roughly written, that points are correct or not. If your points are correct, then you can write a story in a proper sequence. Okay. Then next is, do not copy the poem language. You must write in your own words. Now after pointing some important points, when you start writing a story, when you are starting writing a story, that time what points you should keep in mind? First is, do not imitate the poem language. Do not copy the poetical language. You should have write in your own easy language words. Okay, use easy English word, no problem, but don't copy the poetical language. Okay, don't copy that poetical language. You should have write answer in your own word. You should have write the sentences in your own words. So don't copy the poetical language. Then next is, read the story at the end and check it. After completing all the story, read again what the story you have made. Okay, read again what the story you have made. See that all the important points are come or not. See that you have not missed any point. Okay, you should have write all the points in that story. Whatever the important points given in the poem, that important point should be in your summary or in your story. So see that check that you don't miss any important point. Okay, next is examine composition grammatically and punctually correct or not. At the end, you should have examined that your composition should be grammatically correct and punctually correct. Examine at the end. You after reading, you can come to know about your sentences are at the beginning only, when you decided to which points you are writing, that time only you have checked that your sentence structure is correct or not. But then also at the end you must check कि your sentences are grammatically and punctually correct or not. And if there is necessity, then give a title to your poem or the story. If the poem is already had title, then no problem, you can copy that title. But sometime if there is no title, then you should have give the title to your story, and at the end give a positive approach from that story. Positive approach means what you have learned from that story you should have tell to another, that in positive way. So at the end that thing is important. So again see which points you should have keep in your mind. First is read the whole poem slowly and carefully, once, twice or thrice. Till you understood, read the poem carefully. Then write important points roughly. Make sure that whatever points you are writing roughly, that points all come from the poem. From the poem you have to write all the important points. Don't miss any point, otherwise your story will not give a proper meaning. Okay, if you will miss any point, then your story will be meaningless sometime. So don't miss any point. Write all the important points roughly. Make sure that your sentences should be in a proper sequence with the help of that point. Okay, your sentences should be in a proper sequence with the help of that given point. Next is, now with the help of that point, write a story. With the help of that given point, while writing story, you should have checked that your sentence structure is correct or not. We have seen the sentence structure. Yes, how the sentence form in past tense, future tense, present tense, we have seen that in the tense. Okay, so check that your sentences should be in proper structure, proper grammatical structure. Okay, then after writing the story or while writing a story, which points you should keep in mind. Do not copy the poetical language or the poem language. Whatever the language is given in the poem, you should not copy that poetical language. You should have write in your own words. It's okay if you will use the simple English word, no problem. But don't copy the poetical language. It is a rhyme scheme language. Yes, no? Poetical language means rhyme scheme language. So don't imitate that poetical language. You should have write answer in your own words. Then read the story at the end and check it. Now already considering the points, considering the important points, considering the grammatical structure, you have already made your story. But then also at the end you must check your story, all the important points are come or not, all the sentences are correct or not, all the punctuation marks you have used or not. You see that you should not omit any point. Okay, so see and check all your story at the end. Next is examine composition grammatically and punctually correct or not. at the end you should examine your composition, that is grammatically or punctually correct or not. Grammatically you have already constructed correctly, because here only we have seen that you should have keep the structure in your mind and you should have make the sentence. But sometime in case you will forget to give the punctuation marks. So at the end, while you are examining your story, if you have forgot to give any punctuation mark, so you can give that time punctuation mark what left by mistake. Okay, whatever the punctuation mark left by mistake, you can give at the end. But for that you have to examine your story or examine your summary. If there is necessity, then give a title also. If there is necessity, then give title to your story or title to your summary. And at the end you should have give a moral or the positive approach from the story. Whatever the positive approach you have learnt from that poem or from the story, and you want to tell to others, that positive approach you should have write at the end of the made story. Okay, now I will give the notes of this part also. So from that notes you will come to know how you can reproduce the story from poem, or how you can write a summary from the poem. Thank you.